Hello. Today I want to talk about the illusion of perfect eating. This idea for people with eating disorders who believe that there's this one perfect way of eating, and how that can absolutely sabotage your progress in recovery because there is no such thing as perfect eating. And so before you go into recovery, oftentimes you think that your way of eating in this restrictive manner with all these routines and safe foods is perfect. You've perfected your experience with eating, and anything that's gonna jar or alter that is a no-go. Then you realize, you get to a point where you've done that long enough and you're like, oh my gosh, I can't do this anymore. I can't do this anymore. I can't live this Groundhog Day anymore. And you go into recovery. And then you go into recovery thinking, I will eat perfectly in recovery. I will eat unrestrictedly perfectly. And there is no such thing. Like, those things don't go together. A lot of times what you're eating is going to feel really chaotic and messy, and you ate one thing and it didn't really taste like what you wanted it to, but you ate it anyways, and then you still wanted that other thing, and your brain's kind of spinning, and it's like, but that's not perfect, but that's not what I was planning on, but that's too much, but I messed this up. And you just stop it and say, no, there's really no such thing as perfect eating, right? You're striving for satisfaction. You're striving for getting yourself full and eating enough food to first rehabilitate and second to rewire and to overcome any kinds of fears that you have around food. And so when you start believing, or when you continue to believe that there's this perfect way and this non-perfect way of eating, you're never going to get it right. You're never going to get it right. You are always going to feel like you chose the wrong thing, or you ate at the wrong time, and you should have done it at this time, and you should have waited to have that thing until later, because now, and it's like, there's so much overcomplicating that goes on. And I think that in some ways the eating disorder tries to convince you that there's a right and a wrong. Now, with this being said, there obviously is a wrong if you're restricting. Like, that's pretty black and white. If you're restricting and you're not either eating enough, you're not eating what you really want, you're not eating during the day, you're delaying, like, obviously those are blatant, that is imperfection that you need to correct. That's not the kind I'm talking about here. The kind I'm talking about here is when you are just feeling like you're being flooded with decisions revolving around when to eat, what to eat, and how much to eat. And you're thinking that you have to get it just right. So if you have a thing of, I don't know, 4 or 5 different things that you want for lunch, and you're like, I have to pick the perfect one. I don't know which one it's going to be. And if I have to juggle this with what I'm having for snack, and then I'm having all of that, like, mental gymnastics is coming, well, obviously from a fear of weight gain, but also this idea in your head that there's a right way to do this, and there's a perfect amount, and there's the perfect balance of food or macronutrients. And I would challenge you to let your eating feel messy. Let it feel chaotic. So a lot of times I remember in recovery, I would be eating something and I'm like, I really am not, like, this isn't what I was expecting it to be. You know, I had this idea in my head of how amazing this food was going to be when I finally let myself eat it. And then I'd let myself eat it and I'd be like kind of let down. And like, that is not at all what I was thinking it was going to taste like. I don't feel satisfied, but now I've eaten it. Now I can't eat anything else. I just screwed up my entire day. Gosh dang it, you know, and it would be this like huge ordeal of me feeling like I've just made the biggest mistake of my life. And you have to come to terms with the fact that, first of all, there's no such thing as too much food. And if you ate a food that you didn't really like and you weren't satisfied, so what? Then if you're not satisfied, go and eat something else until you do get satisfied, until you're like, that hit the spot. That's what I wanted. That was really good. And all the things you ate before that didn't hit the spot, it's all good. It's still okay that you ate that. Even though it didn't hit the spot, it's still doing wonderful things for rehabilitation and rewiring. Okay, so that's my message to you today. No more, there's no such thing as perfect eating. I'm not a perfect eater. I don't even know what that is. Like, what would perfect eating actually look like? I can tell you what I thought it was when I was orthorexic, but I can certainly tell you that that was not a recipe for happiness or freedom. And so if you're trying to perfect your eating, you're going down a really bad hole that's going to end up feeling very unfulfilling and robbing you of so much happiness in your life. So stop trying to seek that and pursue that, and allow your eating to be messy. And sometimes you're going to eat the wrong thing, and sometimes you're going to eat food that just was disgusting. And sometimes you're gonna just hit like exactly what you wanted. It's gonna hit the spot and it's gonna be so delicious. And other times you're gonna eat too much. And sometimes you're gonna have to eat earlier because logistically that's just is what makes sense. That's when you need to eat lunch because you've got something during lunchtime and you can't eat it after, it's too late. All of those things, like that's day-to-day living. That's very, very normal and it's okay. So that's my challenge to you, is start exploring and pushing yourself to get into that kind of messy territory and allowing things to feel chaotic. I think I've said my message many and plenty of times in this video, so hopefully you're getting the point. But yeah, that was a huge hang up for me, and it's something that made me feel very defeated and hopeless many times in recovery. And I had to kind of pause and take a step back and be like, I'm missing the big picture here. I'm missing my ultimate goal of trying to find freedom. I'm getting really caught up in the details. I'm really, really obsessed with making sure I'm doing this perfectly. And there is no such thing. So have a good day. Bye.